What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video from the 10-7 MMA Show. We're doing this one live off the cuff because some amazing videos and interviews have just dropped of Conor McGregor, the biggest man in the sport of mixed martial arts, the biggest fighter in the UFC. Still, I would say, if you look at the gates that are coming through, the kind of anticipated gate that's coming through for UFC 303 on June 29th, it's going to be huge. And it's headlining with Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler. Unbelievable. Now, the reason why I wanted to make this video is because I've been thinking about everything that's happening in this world of mixed martial arts in the UFC and Conor's comeback. And we were talking yesterday, Justin and I, on the show, and we were just imagining, or I was just imagining, what could happen here, what's at stake, what are the possibilities. And just when it comes to being a fan of mixed martial arts in the UFC, one of the greatest things that we can experience is going on that ride, that roller coaster ride with the fighter, with our favorite fighter. And Conor is probably one of the most energizing, exciting fighters ever to come into the octagon, right? He's unbelievable. His interviews are incredible. Everything, we're hanging on every word. And I don't care if you like him or dislike him. I think you can all agree that he's captivating and he's inspiring. So watching this potential comeback could be one of the greatest experiences and joys a UFC fan can ever experience. And maybe this could be the high point, right, of the UFC if he can mount an amazing comeback. And I want to talk about this because I think a lot of people are writing Conor off, saying that he's had too much time off, he's had these injuries. But I wanted to go through some stuff in terms of from the mental side, the psychological side, things that I've been seeing in interviews that are making me think that this could be possible. And if it is indeed possible, just imagine with me the incredible momentum that he could gather and what this could mean for the world of mixed martial arts and the UFC as a company and how much fun this roller coaster ride will be. So we're going to step through a couple different interview clips, and we're going to talk about this in detail. And I'm going to tell you why. And I believe that something like this, even though it might seem improbable to a lot of folks, why I think this could be possible if Conor's mind is in the right place. And I feel like it is. So let me show you first. What I'm saying is this. Okay. He's going to go and he's going to fight Michael Chandler. And the possibility after that, I think the possibilities are endless. Because let's say he goes, and we're going to talk about why I think he's going to beat Michael Chandler. But before we get there, what's next on the horizon? What's very interesting that's coming up, even though he's doing this fight at welterweight, is it seems that Islam Makhachev is actually open to fighting Conor if indeed he does beat Michael Chandler. So we played yesterday a clip of Islam talking about that and saying he's open to the fight. Now I'm going to show you a clip of his coach, Javier Mendez, who's a legend at AKA, and him talking about a potential fight. This is on Submission Radio interview. I believe it was released yesterday. So we're going to start with this one. Let's check it out and see what Javier Mendez has to say. Let's bring this down so we can kind of see this a little bit better. Okay, here we go.
Massive fight, massive amount of money, and at the end of the day, when you're a champion, you're a prize fighter, right? We fight for the prize, the money. So it's a massive fight for Islam, and it will bring up his stock tremendously. So yeah, definitely Conor brings that to the table, regardless of whether we like him or don't like him. He still brings a huge amount of audience to watch, and I personally don't like him because of what he says, and I'm still taking it personal that he said, COVID good, father evil, and because too many of us suffered from COVID, and I just don't think that's something that anybody has the right to make fun of. That's just my personal opinion.
Okay, so what he's referring to, if you guys are unaware, is he's referring to when they had this huge battle with Khabib Nurmagomedov. Khabib's after the fight, they still have held on to this animosity. It's completely legitimate. It's not for show. And sadly, Khabib's father did pass, suffering from complications from COVID. And Conor made an off-color remark that you probably shouldn't have made regarding Khabib's father. And that's what Javier is referring to. My point in showing you this is, number one, Islam will take this fight. And that this is how, I think Khabib was opposed to fighting Conor again. He didn't want to give him the platform and the opportunity to take the center stage and potentially win the belt. He was opposed to that. But Islam is not. And this is Javier Mendez saying that even though we don't like him, we would take that fight. We would take that chance and give him that opportunity to reclaim the lightweight title. Okay, very interesting. So now we're going to move on to a second clip of Javier Mendez. And by the way, just imagine, we're going to come back and talk about this, but just imagine this is real. This is there. They have this heated beef. They continue to talk about each other in terms of Conor's view of Islam's camp and vice versa, right? They don't like each other. And as much as we might say we're getting caught up in the pettiness, it really does make for the fight buildup and everything to be that much more exciting. And it's raw, it's real. And at the end of the day, while we like the show of things and we kind of want to see people talk a little bit of smack here and there, and sometimes it's manufactured, but this is the real deal. And at the end of the day, that's what we love as UFC fans, the real, right? And we can sense that it's an act and it's fake, unless you're Kobe and like it's so over the top that it's kind of funny. I guess that's one exception where we know it's so fake, but it's still enjoyable and entertaining to some extent. But this is it. This is the creme de la creme for MMA fans and UFC fans and Conor fans and so on and so forth. Whatever side you're on, I mean, this fight buildup would be amazing. All right, now I'm going to turn over to Javier one more time. So now he's talking about what Islam thinks about the fight and the state of Conor right now. And this is very interesting. So check this out.
But the problem is, like Islam has said, he doesn't think he's the same fighter he was way back then when he was beating Jose Aldo, Chad Mendes, and all those other guys. Eddie Alvarez. He was mad. He was the man. And then he met the hype, and Habib, that was the real hype. And so then I don't think been the same since. I really don't. And maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. I think he hasn't been the same since Habib fight.
Okay, so it is potentially possible, right? He fought Dustin, he lost, and then first he came back, he fought Cowboy, won, amazing first round knockout, unbelievable. Then COVID happened, he wasn't able to fight for a long time. They didn't have crowds. I think they wanted to hold Conor off from fighting because he makes so much money at the gate. That was potentially a missed opportunity, and also maybe because of the payment structure with Conor was problematic for whatever reason. He didn't fight for a long time until he finally kind of finagled his way into a fight with Dustin Poirier, lost that fight. He was doing great, by the way. Was taking a boxing heavy approach, had admittedly been training for a Manny Pacquiao fight. And so he kind of quickly jumped into camp, and you could see he had a boxing heavy approach, but he got tagged, he got knocked out. Can happen to anybody, but he actually looked quite good in that fight. Then we come to the second fight against Dustin, where of course he had the catastrophic fracture of the tibia, completely fractured it. And that was an injury that people thought potentially he may never come back from, right? It's an injury that only Anderson Silva and I'm blanking on this Chris Weidman also had as well. Devastating injury, right? But he's done the recovery. He may have taken some different supplements to help him with that recovery. And I think he's kind of essentially admitted that he's done so, which is not against any sort of regulations. He's taking maybe some steroid type of substances to help the leg heal, which I think most people are 100% for. He needs that. Otherwise, his quality of life, forget about fighting, could have been totally affected. Maybe he never would have been able to walk correctly again if he had not done that. And look at him. He looks incredible. When you see the sparring footage and the training footage, he seems like he's made a full recovery. So when Javier Mendez now says that he doesn't think he's the same, it might be true, but I think there's an argument that may not be true, that maybe he's done such a fantastic job with the medical care that he can afford and all these other advantages. And if he's done the right protocols, maybe he's just as good, if not better. Now, I'm going to propose that there is a chance that I think he could be coming back better than ever and is going to surprise everybody. And I want to play this little clip right here where next Conor is talking about Sean O'Malley. And I want to tell you why I think this is significant. So check this out. Here we go.
I like Sean O'Malley. I do actually like Sean. And I just seen the disrespect of what's his name, Garcia, coming in overweight, real lackadaisy with it, multiple pounds overweight at that. And then, you see the testing positive on performance-enhancing drugs. It just reminded me of a situation with Sean, and he kind of got caught in the crosshairs. He also said something like he beat me, not in his wildest dreams. So, but I do like Sean, to be honest with you. I had spoken to Sean at a football stadium. I think it was in California. I bumped into him at a football stadium, and he was being influenced by this influencer boxing approach where it's, pick and choose your matches and be very careful who you match. He was saying he wouldn't fight. He wouldn't fight people above his category. And I went and seen him as he was in this mode. And I had said to him, are you the best? Are you the world champion? Because if you're the world champion, who cares who it's against? You should go until you are the champion. Fight fight everyone and anyone at any given moment. That's what I've done. And then since then, he went and fought Peter Yan. He went and fought Chito Vera. He went and fought some great competitors. Aljamain Sterling. Give me a sec. Aljamain Sterling. And, you know, he done it and he showed it. So I was happy with that. And, you know, it is what it is. Whatever. You can't be cheating and using performance-enhancing drugs in competition.
Okay, so we're going to pause it right there. So, again, why do I think this clip is important? Because it shows the mindset of Conor. And this is actually true. He has fought whoever. He has fought the who's who. He hasn't shied away from fights. I don't think he's gone through. I mean, look at the fight that he's taken right now against Michael Chandler. This is a very dangerous matchup. But the reason why I think this is significant is because he still has that mindset. So when people want to write him off, I think a lot of people are saying, oh, he's made all this money and he doesn't care. Or now he's just chilling. He's not training. He's partying. I don't know if that's true. And I don't buy that argument actually whatsoever about having money and then that depleting your work ethic, because I think it depends on where it comes from. And for Conor, I truly believe that he has an urge to make history and to be the greatest. And he derives a great amount of enjoyment from the sport. He truly loves fighting. He truly loves it. He says many, many times he's never going to retire. He wants to fight, you know, maybe in his 50s, even just change the competition level, fight with other people his age and in that bracket. He said it's the greatest buzz of all time. And I believe him. And so when we think about that mindset, that's the most important part of this game. I mean, I'm not a fighter. I can't say that from a personal perspective, but I've heard so many fighters talk. I've heard Khabib talk about that. So many fighters talk about the mind being the most important weapon in this game. And I think Conor still's got that mentality, regardless of what people want to say. So if we take him at his word, and if we listen to the things that he recently said to Sean O'Malley about getting in there and fighting the best of the best and not worrying, just believing in yourself that you are the best, right? I think there's a chance, a very good chance that Conor is back in there training like crazy, not taking this opponent lightly. And I think if he comes back at full capacity, which I'm starting to believe he will, man, I think he can get it done. Now we're going to go to another clip of him talking specifically about this Chandler fight and what's going down. And we're going to finish it off with one other clip. And then I'm going to tell you what I can see potentially happening and why it would be the wildest comeback, literally the wildest comeback of all time across potentially all sports. Here we go.
I feel like at no point during this you've ever really felt a lot of heat towards Chandler. Like, he's a good opponent, right? He's got an interesting style, but you've seen it before. I get the impression that you're thinking it's a nice one for the comeback, but there's no real like animosity between.
Yeah, no, I don't think I'll go to that level again. You know, it doesn't serve a purpose. It doesn't serve me well. You know, like you say, you remain cold to the situation. You remain emotionless. It's a blank face and a specific body type. He has his set movements, his set patterns he moves in, and his set shots. And you know, I'm aware of them, and I'm preparing for multitude of outcomes, and you know, just getting myself as ready as I can be. And I'm confident that all my shots will land.
When you said about talking how you felt spiritually and just more calm and whole, how much of that's to do with the grounding you're doing these days and the tree?
Okay, so then he next talks about grounding, basically working with grounding your feet into the soil. He's been hugging trees. I don't know if you guys have seen that footage, and some people might find that funny or peculiar, but I think there's a great purpose to it and a reason. But regardless of let's say, you know, what it's actually doing, I think it shows once again he's in that mindset where he's trying his best to get his mind mentally prepared. He's even removing some of these previous tactics of like developing this animosity and this hatred and going in hard. And I think that's a positive. I think some people might say, well, maybe Conor needs that. I don't know. I think that's growth, and I think he's moving in the right direction. So this is a real positive sign that he's preparing properly and arduously for this competition. If you listen to Dan Hardy's commentary, he thinks he's picking Conor in this fight because of the precision, because of the striking ability and the way that Chandler fights. But he's placing the condition on that prediction that this is going to happen if Conor's serious about training and if he comes back and he really puts in all his effort. And I think he's doing that. So I think we can be really excited about this Michael Chandler, Conor McGregor matchup, because the UFC, the sports world in general, man, it is so much more fun to be a UFC fan when Conor's up there and he's competing and he's winning, most importantly, and he's in title contention. I don't care what anybody says, even if you are not a fan of Conor McGregor, whatever it is, you're going to sit down and you're going to enjoy the show, and you're going to love watching him and seeing him inspire people. It's going to be incredible. So I think there's a big chance that he's preparing properly and he's going to pull this off. And that will be absolutely unbelievable, because I don't care what people say. Michael Chandler's a tough fight. He's done some amazing things in the UFC. And with the wrestling background, I mean, if Conor pulls this off, this will be a big deal, and people need to acknowledge that. All right, here's the last clip I want to play of Conor, and then we're going to talk about what I foresee potentially happening. Here we go.
On a tear, my man. I'm feeling great. Upgrade the software without damaging the hardware. You know, an old Coach Kavanagh adage, and that's you know, we're doing that. So we're in a really great place, myself and John. Training has been going tremendous, and I'm excited to get going.
I'll leave you with one last.
Okay, there it is. That's the last clip. He's talking about training. He's talking about, that's a phrase that I've heard John Kavanagh say, I don't know how many years ago. Maybe it was during the Khabib fight. Maybe it was even prior to that, where he talks about this idea of training smart, training intelligently, upgrading the mind without damaging the body, taking too much damage in sparring, and so on and so forth. He's back to the old fundamentals and principles that took him so far. So this is what gets me so excited. Now, imagine with me for a moment what could happen here, okay? Just think about this. He goes in there. Islam has now said he's open to this fight. Conor does say later in this interview that, hey, he's already claimed the 155. He's not sure if he wants that again. Maybe he's aiming for the BMF and the welterweight title. That's where his ambition is. But just imagine he goes in there. He looks incredible against Michael Chandler, knocks him out, starches him in the first round, right? That's, I think, what people are anticipating if Conor does indeed pull this off, which I believe he will. So he goes in there, he starches him, gets on the mic, goes crazy, calls out Islam. Islam has already said, and Javier has backed this up, that he would take that fight potentially in September, okay? So imagine they set this up. I don't know if it'll be for the Sphere or not, whatever. I don't even care about that. But imagine that he goes in there and he gets this fight against Islam. Now we got this buildup of true teams that truly oppose each other. And we get this incredible, it'll be a little bit dark, but it will be wild. So imagine now they're building it up. Khabib's coming back to coach, right? Khabib's coming back in the mix. Conor's throwing slings and arrows their way. They're throwing them back his way. Conor already talked about Khabib's tax situation in another video. I mean, it's still there. It's still there. And the beef is true and it's alive. So we're going to have the greatest buildup of all time. Now let me leave you with one final thought. I think that when Conor fought Khabib, people really thought Khabib was favored, but people thought really believed that Conor had a really, really good chance. And Conor did amazing in that fight. I rewatched it 2 days ago, and his takedown defense was incredible. And I think takedown defense is actually improving generally in the sport of mixed martial arts. People are getting more strategic with using the cage and being able to, even if they get taken down, get themselves back up to their feet. So we kind of use this new knowledge and framework to build on Conor's skills and to improve his takedown defense and maybe anti-grappling. So now we go in. A lot of people might count Conor out for this Islam fight, but let's say he goes in, he trains like crazy all summer, and he gets in there. So just imagine if he goes in, and I'm a huge Islam fan, right? But if he goes in there and pulls it off, goes in, fights Islam, the odds are totally against him. We have the massive buildup. Boom. And he reclaims the 155 belt, and then sky's the limit. And he looks better than ever. Imagine what that's going to do. Forget about the 2 million pay-per-views sold back in 2018 against Khabib. Now we might hit 2.5. We might hit 3 million pay-per-view buys. I mean, this would be historic across the combat sports world, boxing, everything. This would probably shatter every record. And if he pulls it off and wins, he will be the most famous. He already is probably one of the most famous people on the planet. He will be the guy. I don't care what anybody says. That's it. And then he can go up and do whatever he wants. Challenge Leon Edwards. Imagine that for the welterweight title. And for all these guys, for all these other champions, that's good. This is the tide that will rise all ships, right? He goes up and he does this amazing thing. It draws so many eyes and so much attention to the sport. And then he can go and challenge Leon Edwards. He'll get a massive payday because he'll be a defending champ. I mean, just imagine this. So this is what I wanted to share today. This is how he can do it. Is it, what's the probability and the likelihood of all this happening? I think it largely depends on his mindset and his work ethic over the next 6 months. But it sure does excite me to see him in these interviews because I think it's possible. And I want to believe. And I think you guys out there who are UFC fans and mixed martial arts fans, no matter what you say, you want to believe this too. Because, man, it would be the greatest comeback and the greatest ride, period. And that's it. So that's what I want to talk about today. I leave you with that. Let me know in the comments if you guys agree with me or not. Let me know in the comments if you just think, just agree with me on the fact that this would be the most exciting ride of all time. And that's it. Conor McGregor, my message to you is we are with you, my man. And if you can pull this off, dude, we're down for this ride. We want to see it happen. So let's go. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much. If you like this video, make sure to click that like button. If you want to see more from the 10-7 MMA show with episodes dropping every Monday and Friday, make sure to click subscribe. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you in the next episode. Take it easy.